Thanks for listening to the Grow Your Life podcast. My name is Jeremiah Krakowski, and if you have never listened to this podcast before, welcome. On this, we talk about ways for you to grow in your life and in your business. For the last 17 years, I've been helping business owners grow, build, and get results in their businesses using the tools of the internet. And that's what I want to help you do. But also, we have to work on what's between our two ears, what's in our mindset. If your mindset isn't set up right, man, you're not going to take action on the things that you want to do. You could do a little bit. I see people, man, they're like, I don't need that mindset stuff. I can do stuff. And they do some great things, but they could go 1,000 million times further if they worked through some of this stuff that they've been avoiding. And so that's what we talk about, is a mix of personal life stuff, mindset, and business strategy and growth. If you want to learn how to get more results in a business using the internet, I'm running a program called the 21-Day Internet Cash Flow Formula. It's a masterclass where I walk you through everything step by step that I know about building businesses on the internet that get results 7 and 8 figures. Even if you're just starting out, though, this is what's going to get you to 5 and 6 figures in a business. It's free. It's in the hashtag Grow Your Life community on Facebook. Join it, look it up. I can't wait for you to go through this. It's going to impact you. We're already seeing testimonials and results of people that are saying that they have more focus, more clarity, more vision, more ideas. They now have a plan to build their business, to get money, cash in their bank account right now during this time period. Now, today I want to talk about empowering you for your goals, empowering you, especially in business. Empowering you to do the things that you need to do, that you must do. Listen, we're 53 episodes into this podcast. If you go through the episodes, there's plans. Every single episode is like a masterclass themselves for you to go through, to grow in your life, to get results in a business that works for you. But many times I run into people, there's like, I had a coaching call this week with a lady where she knew what she needed to do, but she was getting stuck on the details, on doing it all perfect. And we broke down and we went through this, and ultimately, and this happens with every single client that I coach, that I do coaching with, there were experiences in her past that impacted her decisions and choices that she's making now in her business. And so she was constantly waiting until she had certainty of what to do before taking action, even though she was intuitively wise, even though she'd been through so much training, even though she knew exactly what to do, the blueprint, what choices to make in her business, in her life. She was still being stuck. And it all pointed to these experiences, these beliefs that were disempowering herself. And so what happened is she had a moment in her life where let's just say, she was learning how to do something, and there was a critical nature to that. And I don't know all the details about what happened, but it was a traumatic event. It was a traumatic experience that she constantly goes back to. And so now, when it goes time to build her business, if she doesn't have everything perfect, she has that critical voice inside of her head telling her, well, you can't do that unless it's perfect. Well, you don't have what it takes to do that. Well, you don't have you're not good enough, or you don't have the ability to do that. We all have these things. Think about the decisions, the choices, the actions that you're wanting to make, needing to make in your business. What are those things that you've been waiting until XYZ is in order to do? Now ask yourself this: what would happen if I did it without XYZ in order? Many times I've heard responses like, well, I would freak out. Well, I would be afraid. Well, I just wouldn't do that. Exactly. And that's why you're not doing what it takes to grow and build a business. You're disempowering yourself to make the decisions and the choices because you've come up with a framework in your life that verifies and validates to you that you can't take action until all these things are in order, until all these things are perfect. And so unconsciously, we don't even do it on purpose, we unconsciously tell ourselves that we cannot move forward until XYZ is all perfect. Or maybe we don't have motivation to move forward because we don't even realize we're telling ourselves that. But we come up with reasons, well, I'm just not into that. Well, I'm just not doing that. Well, I just don't want to do that. And we come up with good reasons, good stories for why we can't do what we want to do. All of us do that. And so we disempower ourselves. And so we have to lead ourselves as a leader in our lives to take the actions, to do the things that we know that we need to do in our business to reach our goals. Maybe it's getting more focused with your time management. Maybe it's spending a little bit more time in your business. Maybe it's not sleeping in or staying up so late. Maybe it's not spending a lot of time on social media, scrolling, reading about things like coronavirus. Maybe it's listening to more podcasts like this. And maybe you get started in things, you get the wheels turning, and then week 2, week 3 comes by, and then you fizzle out. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever had this happen? Well, I know you have, because I have this happen, and every single person that I coach and consult has this happen. So we have to figure out, what are those patterns? What are those patterns, beliefs, and frameworks in our life that are keeping us in this spinning hamster wheel, this spinning loop of not doing the things that we know that we need to do? Or, I get it, I have a number of people that listen to this podcast. You might be somebody that executes hardcore on things. Thank you for listening this far into this podcast, by the way. There's going to be some people that are high-level achievers and executors that turned this podcast off 3 to 4 minutes into it because they didn't think that there was value in this episode for them. If you're somebody that is a high achiever, is somebody that executes big, you still have areas that you talk yourself out of having that conversation with people. You talk yourself out of doing and looking inside of yourself because you think that it's not going to affect you. You're addicted to the beliefs and the patterns that you have up to this moment in time. And this is one that I really run up against is the people that believe that they don't need to look at the patterns. They believe that they have it all together. That belief and that framework is a false belief that is impacting them from progressing, from growing, from moving forward. And their success is lying to them, telling them, well, because I have these milestones, these successful points in my life, I don't need to grow anymore. I don't need to learn anything new. And if I learn anything new, there's a risk that I'm not going to be as successful. It's a fear. It's a worry. Is this you? Again, I know that this is you because this is me. This is the people that I coach. This is the people that I talk to all the time. Is we get so built up in our wins, our experiences. You know, my friends, I built 7 and 8 figure businesses, and I had pride in myself that I knew how to do that and that I didn't need to learn anything new to build my own business. And so as soon as I humbled myself and said, you know what, Jeremiah, yeah, you've had success. Yeah, you've done that, but you still have some things to learn. Then I was able to grow, to open up to learning what I don't know. And so that's the number one thing that we need to get to, is we need to get to a point where we're willing to learn what we don't know, where we're willing to admit to ourselves that I don't know everything and there's some things that I could grow in. Even if I don't believe that there's any of them, I'm willing to go through the process to discover what I don't know. You see, you don't know what you don't know. You don't. All of us don't know what we don't know. If you believe that you know what you don't know, I don't know how that works. But I've met some people that believe that they know everything, that they believe that they know what they don't know, that they believe that there's nothing new for them to learn under the sun. And that is a framework that it'll work out eventually for you, because there's probably a good reason for that, right? There's probably a good reason for these beliefs. In fact, whatever you believe, whatever you're experiencing up to this moment in time that's disempowering you, you probably have really good reasons for it. In fact, they're probably verified by friends and family and even clinicians. Maybe even clinical psychiatry has verified this for you, whatever it is. Maybe it's a doctor's diagnosis has verified this for you. Maybe it's the money in your bank account has verified to you that you know everything. We all have good reasons that we tell ourselves, the messages that we tell ourselves. We all have good reasons. So I don't want to invalidate whatever your reasons are, but what I do want to do is, and thank you for continuing to listen to this. I believe that if you're still listening to this right now, you are somebody that is open to learning. The people that weren't open to learning clicked off this podcast. They turned it off already because it was either too much. They just disagreed. And I structure these podcasts in a way to kind of trigger some things, to kind of pull some things up, to kind of dig some things up a little bit so that we can come face to face with the things that we need to learn, the things that we don't know, the things that we need to change about ourselves. And so I want you to feel, what is that thing? What is that thing that's stopping you from going after your goals? What is that thing that you're telling yourself? And ask yourself, what are my good reasons that I'm telling myself this? What are my good reasons? What are my good reasons that I believe that this is adequate and truthful? Just why, what are those reasons? What are those reasons? Okay. Let's come face to face with those. Now, ask yourself this. What am I telling myself about those reasons? How am I being critical of myself around those reasons? Okay, so you have your good reasons here. What am I telling myself about those reasons? How am I being critical? How am I repeating maybe patterns that I've had in my life? And this is where we need to think back to, where did this belief come in? Where did this belief start to come into place? You might get a vision or an experience. Maybe there's somebody that you have anger towards. Maybe there's somebody, a past experience. Maybe you're not willing to admit that you're angry because you have pride that you don't get angry. I was like that as well. I was stuffing my anger so much for my past experiences and lying to myself so much about what had happened to me in my past that I wasn't willing to grow because it was so painful, because it was so hurtful to admit that to myself. This is where we need to come in, and we need to start to reparent and re-mentor ourselves and be the parent that we wish that we had in this moment. If you were a child in this moment, what would you tell your child that is feeling this, that is telling themselves this? And why? What are your reasons that you're telling yourself this? By the way, there could be things and beliefs that you're telling yourself that are not true. And so you have to look at, okay, why am I telling myself this? Where did this belief pattern come in? Am I being just like that parent or that boss or that teacher in my past, or whoever that is in my past that was telling me these things? Am I being, and I might not, I don't know your situation. I don't know what you're going through, but I bet as I'm sharing this with you, there's some memories and stuff that maybe is coming up. Maybe this is hard for you to think about. There's two things that we need to do. One is we need to tell ourselves the truth about that experience. We need to forgive that person. We need to release them. Because what happens is when we hold on to that experience, we actually have a part in our brain that starts to talk to ourselves in the way that that person did. We become abusive to ourselves. We tell ourselves things that are not loving. We tell ourselves things that are harmful to ourselves because we're repeating that pattern in our head, and we're talking to ourselves in the way from that person in our past. And you have to learn to take ownership over this. This is the point where we need to get to, is realize, yeah, that happened, but I'm the one doing this to myself. I'm the one talking to myself this way, and I'm the only one that can empower myself to stop talking to myself that way. I'm the only one that can choose to speak to myself in a loving way, take every thought captive, to speak to myself in a way that is loving, that is kind, that is compassionate. And if you don't know how to do that, I want you to start to think about, how would you talk to another person that way? Would you talk to somebody the way that you're talking to yourself? Absolutely not. Most of us know. In fact, if we saw somebody talking to another person the way that we talk to ourselves, we would probably think that, man, that person is really a jerk. That person is really being abusive to that person. Why are you justifying the abuse that you give to yourself on a daily basis? Why do you think it's okay? I used to think it was okay to at least talk to myself that way, to push myself down. And I even came up with religious reasons why this was holy and righteous. It wasn't. It was just pride and ego. It was just me self-serving myself to feel like I was better than other people because, well, at least I hold myself to this high standard. And I wasn't giving myself the grace to make mistakes, wasn't speaking to myself in a loving way, and wasn't taking care of myself the way that I would have wished that another person had taken care of me, the way that I would take care of another person if I saw them being treated that way. That's the other thing too. Think about that. What would you say to somebody that is both going through this? Think about the critical squawk box that's telling you all these things, and think about the person that is being berated, that is being abused. What would you tell the two of them? First, you tell the critical one, stop being abusive. And the other one, you would tell them, listen, you didn't deserve to be treated that way. You are good. You are lovable. You are loved. You don't need to be, act, or do anything to receive love. You don't need to do everything perfect to be worthy of your future, of your destiny. And start to learn how to self-love and self-care for yourself. This isn't narcissism. Narcissism is actually the opposite of this. Narcissism is where I need other people to validate me because I can't do it for myself. And so other people exist for my exaltation, for my validation. Or maybe you're not that way. You're a people pleaser. So you're pleasing other people to the point doing everything perfect enough so that you feel validated yourself, because at least you know that you did everything perfect. At least you know you did everything right. At least you know you did everything the right way that you need to do it. And we come up with these patterns, these frameworks for doing everything to justify why we make these decisions and choices, to justify why we can't move forward, why we can't move the needle forward. And we tell ourselves these things. They're based on lies that we're believing. What are those lies that you tell yourself on a daily basis? I want you to think about that. What are you believing? What are you communicating to yourself that is not true? It doesn't go into alignment with what God says about you. It doesn't go into alignment of what the most loving thing that you can say to yourself is. For you to be loving to other people, for you to feel loved, you need to also care for and love yourself inside and stop being critical and abusive of yourself. Seriously. I'm not talking about being permissive or authoritarian. These are two sides of the same coin. Okay? Authoritarian is, you can't ever do anything right. You need to do everything perfect. Permissive is you can just do anything. It doesn't matter. Both of those are wrong. Both of those are unhealthy. Both of those are, they're not healthy at all. But we do that to ourselves. We either ultra permit ourselves in these one areas, and we are ultra authoritarian in this other area, and then we're trying to find the balance in confusion of the messages that we give ourselves. Be conscious of these things. You need to move out of unconsciousness and into consciousness, into being conscious of how you're talking to yourself, and empower yourself with truth that aligns with what does God say about you? What does God say about who he made you to be, how he views you? How do you view yourself? Have your thoughts and your patterns about yourself be in alignment with the truth that God says about you. He doesn't see you that way, that critical way, or ultra permissive. Seriously. He's not harping down on everything that you're doing wrong. We do that to ourselves. That's not God. That's not his nature. God is love and is loving. And then you might say, well, yeah, but people do wrong. They deserve punishment. No. Bible says perfect love casts all fear, and fear comes from fear of pain and punishment. And so in that, what is the most loving thing that you can do for yourself in this moment in time to empower yourself in your goals? To empower yourself to take the action that you need to take to get to the next level. to empower yourself, to open yourself up to learning new things, to empower yourself to taking risks, to trying new things, to not being afraid of failure, not being afraid that if I don't do it perfectly, then I'm going to experience pain or punishment. Empower yourself to love yourself enough to make the choices and the decisions that are best for you in this moment in time, that are going to serve you for your goals. To have vision, to have faith, to walk and to step out in faith, and to keep moving forward in your life instead of staying stuck in the loop of the patterns of your past experiences. When we do this, instead of disempowering ourselves and talking ourselves out of why we can't do what we need to do, we activate ourselves to do one thing. Maybe now there's like a flood of ideas that you're like, well, I wish I could do this. And then we spin in this loop of coming up with reasons why we can't do those things. Pick one thing this week that you can do, that you can execute on fast. It's about speed. It's not about the big ultra things. What's the one thing that you can empower yourself to do this week that's loving for yourself? Maybe it's making a phone call to a friend. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's recording a video on social media. Maybe it's scheduling a 15-minute strategy call with me, going to my website and filling out that form and scheduling out that 15-minute call. Maybe it's going through a course like my social media ads course, or going through the internet cash flow formula in my Grow Your Life community. Maybe you've been waiting until you get to a certain point to start to learn what it takes to move you forward. The time is now to start to make the decisions to move you from where you are to where you want to be. Stop waiting for everything in your life to be perfect and all the pieces to be lined up for you. Start to take a risk, to step out, to move forward in your life. You're worth it. Stop waiting and start today. And maybe you're like, it's just hard. I just don't know what to do. That's what I'd love to talk with you about. That's what I'd love to hop on a call with you for 15 minutes and go over. That's what I'd love to. You can send me a DM. You can send me a message. We can talk about these things. We all have unique experiences and situations in our life. We all have special circumstances. We all have unique things that we believe are stopping us from going after our goals. And they're real, and they're valid, and they're holding us hostage. It's time to break free from those old patterns, to start to do the most loving thing, to take the action to reach our goals, to grow in our businesses. If you want to win a 30-minute coaching session with me, you can leave #GrowYourLife on my Instagram. I pick one winner every single week on Sunday for that. If you want to hop on the phone for just 15 minutes, go over to my website and schedule that time on there. Listen, I know that you can reach your goals, but you have to empower yourself. You have to be loving to yourself. You have to start to do the things that are going to move the needle for you. Stop waiting for other people to do it for you. Stop waiting for the situations around you to change, for you to finally arrive to a moment in time where you can then empower yourself. The time is now. The time is now to move forward. The time is now to make one single decision this week to do something differently than you've been doing up to this moment in time, to grow your life and to do the most loving thing for yourself to reach your goals. What are you waiting for? Let's get started. If this podcast has impacted you in any way, please share it with somebody. Please share these episodes with people. I want to reach as many people as possible with this, but I can't do it alone. I need you to help me with this. Share this podcast with some people to help empower them to reach their goals, to empower them to get past what's holding them back, to empower them to start moving forward in their life. Grow your life, everybody, and we'll talk soon.